UFC 325, Volkanovski versus Lopez, number 2. This is the rematch. Since then, Volkanovski has not fought. Diego Lopez is coming off of a knockout win versus Gene Silva. This is going to be the second numbered event of 2026 and also the second event coming to you on the Paramount Plus. Very excited to break down this card. I think this is a whole lot better card than last week, especially when we're just talking names. This is also going to be opening up with the Road to UFC championship fights. We have 4 cracking off the card. Excited to get into this one. Before we get into this, make sure you go and like and subscribe. Follow me at RHYTHMBETZ on Instagram, at RHYTHMBETZ on TikTok. RHYTHMBETZLLC at gmail.com if you want to talk any business. Purchase the beat that you heard at the beginning. Lease the beat that you heard at the beginning. Also, go ahead and follow the Discord where I'm posting fight posters, pics, talking a little bit about what's going on in the community. And then also, if you want to pay a subscription to join my picks, get every one of my picks, every one of my bets that I am placing, join the Juice Reels. $5 a week will get you access to every single bet that I am placing. But without further ado, let's get right into this card, into these UFC, Road to UFC title fights. All right. First off, we got Namsrai Batabayar taking on Aaron Tao. Namsrai Batabayar, 25 years old, pro record of 9-1. He's a somewhat technical striker, but mostly wild boxing is what I see from him. Decent wrestling, decent grappling defense, and so far he's been getting a good amount of submissions, so we could call him a submission artist as of right now. He's coming in at that -130 favorite, and he will be taking on the +110 underdog Aaron Tao. He is 27 years old with a pro record of 11-1. He's an explosive striker. He's right there at City Kickboxing, training with Israel Adesanya, Don Hooker. Obviously guys right there in Australia. He's a very confident guy. Look at the face tattoo that he has. How can you not be scared of this guy who has a tribal beard tattooed on his face? He looks to bring the pressure in striking and wrestling, and that can be issues for some people. After watching this tape study, breaking down these fights, I'm going to have to go with Namsrai Batabayar. I want to take the dog in Australia. This is a very low confidence pick. These guys are both making their UFC debuts, obviously, and this is technically not even the debut. This will just be for the title of the Road to UFC. So far, I like the finishing ability in the submission game for Batabayar, so that will be the pick. All right, let's get on to the next one. We got Solong Granbo taking on Lawrence Louis. Solong Granbo, the -275 favorite. He is 20 years old, pro record of 10-3. He's a very technical striker. One thing I've noticed, he has some pretty good footwork, a lot of movement, a lot of staying on the outside, circling his opponents, trying to cut off position, and footwork means a lot when it comes to being a technical striker. He also has some good takedown defense from what I've been seeing, so that could pay him dividends. Moving on, if he does advance into the UFC, he is taking on the +225 dog in Lawrence Louis, 29 years old, pro record of 7-1. He is a technical slick striker. He's also at City Kickboxing, working with Israel Adesanya and Dan Hooker and them. One thing I've noticed, he's kind of stiff as it looks like. He's a lot slicker than he looks. His head movement looks minimal, but then when you kind of really watch, it's sort of there. He does have relentless pressure. He's kind of always just marching forward. Even when he's getting tagged, he does not stop marching forward, but he does have pretty slick Muay Thai, and he seems to have pretty conservative movement, unlike Solong Granbo, where Solong Granbo constantly moving, constantly circling. Lawrence Louis is just kind of in front of you, moving forward, slight feints, but he keeps his movement very minimal. And this was another very hard one to pick, but I'm going to have to go with Lawrence Louis by decision. I'm gonna have to take that. I think his counter strikes are pretty well. I think Solon Grombo is going to look to be the more active, and I think that might get him in trouble. Lawrence Louis, as long as he's controlling the center of the octagon and gets some early respect and lets Solon Grombo know that he's not the one just to try to tee off on, I think the less movement over the 3 rounds will pay off, and Lawrence Louis can get the more significant strikes. Maybe not the higher volume output of total strikes, but I think he can get the more significant strikes coming in here. He has a slight reach advantage despite the slight height disadvantage. But yeah, I'm gonna go Lawrence Louis by decision. Very unconfident, especially knowing that these guys are never fought in the UFC. Minimal tape on these guys, but yeah, Lawrence Louis by decision. Let's move on. Now we got Sebastian Cizele taking on Kikichiro Nakamura. Cizele, that -130 favorite, 31 years old with a pro record of 10-1. He has fast strikes. He closes the distance very well. He's very good off the back foot as well. He has very slick counters, and he looks to blitz. He looks to sit back, let his opponent get somewhat comfortable, and then just throw in a crazy blitz. That seems to be decently effective sometimes. He can be controlled on the ground, though. That is one thing I have seen. Once he gets taken down, it is not the hardest task to keep him there for a long period of time. He is taking on the +110 underdog, Kikichiro Nakamura. He is 27 years old with a pro record of 7-1. He is very active in the octagon. A lot of forward pressure. He is very battle tested. He's been down to the depths of hell in his fights. Taken hits, been dropped, got back up. He has some pretty decent takedown defense. What I've been seeing, nothing special. And he has a very decent counter straight, when he ducks that counter, and he likes to throw that straight rather than that initial jab, which can be very effective versus certain opponents. But he has a very bouncy 1-2, kind of gets in and out with it. This is another tough one. All 4 of these Road to UFC fights are going to be pretty tough, just going off of minimal tape again. But we're going to go Sebastian Cizele by decision. He just looks like the more faster and explosive fighter. Slightly more technical boxing, and it looks like he manages the distance a lot better. He's in Australia. He's from Australia. I think he's going to be able to use this to his advantage. I'm going to go Sebastian Cizele by decision. All right, let's get on to the next. We got Don Mar Fan taking on Sang Wook Kim. Don Marfan, that -150 favorite. He's 25 years old with a pro record of 8-2. 2 losses to Quillen Salkilde. Now, I'm high up on Quillen Salkilde. He is also on this card. We'll be getting into him later, but those 2 losses to him don't mean too much. And if you go watch that tape, pretty much that whole first round, he was controlling Quillen Salkilde. And he ended up kind of just gassing out. His technicality went away, and he ended up getting a submission, getting subbed by Quillen Salkilde, which has aged very well, noting the fact that he's a talked about prospect now in the UFC. He has his first main card appearance coming up, so those 2 losses, I'm not looking at those too crazy. Other than that, he is a great grappler. Submissions, aggressive takedowns. He'll blast a double leg or single leg, and he has some decent stand-up game. Nothing I'm too impressed with, but so far it looks to be a pretty dominant grappler. He is taking on the +125 underdog of Sang Wook Kim, and sorry for the misspelling on the middle name there. Anyway, he has a pro record of 13-3. Very average stand-up game is what I've been noticing. He has good grappling defense. He is willing to trade, sit there and exchange, even though his striking is very mid. But overall, nothing's really sticking out for this guy, and for those reasons, I'm gonna have to go with Don Mar Fan by decision. I don't think any of these guys are gonna submit each other. I think they both have good enough defense, good enough grapplers. I think this is just gonna be like a lower level version of Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evliov. I think it's just going to be a straight grappling display. It could be entertaining, especially for a real true MMA fan. Maybe if you're just a casual, you're not going to like it, but I can see this being a decent fight. Younger guy with an older guy, experience versus the, young up and comer, even though they're both up and coming. But overall, yeah, for those of you, I'm going to have to take Don Marfun by decision. I think he's just a slightly better striker, slightly better grappler, and I think he's just a more complete MMA fighter. All right, let's move on. We got Junior Tafa taking on Billy Elikana. Junior Tafa, that plus 220 underdog. He is 29 years old with a pro record of 6-4 and an embarrassing UFC record of 2-4. That's crazy that he's still there. Other than that, though, he is an elite kickboxer. I will not downplay him. He is very good in the kickboxing realm. Great combinations. He can stand and bang with essentially anyone in this light heavyweight division. It is a 50-50 when he is doing that. He could get dropped just as easily as he can drop somebody. But let's just get through the elephant in the room. Junior Tafa could not wrestle a bowl of fucking jello. That is his problem. The Tafa brothers have no grappling. We've talked about this before. And Billy Elikana, the 2-70 favorite for a reason, 30 years old, pro record of 9-2, UFC record of 2-1, is an elite grappler. And especially for being 6'3", you know what I mean? That it looks really good. He has the reach advantage as well. As long as he doesn't sit here and try and stand in front of Junior Tafa and trade in the pocket with him, this guy has all of the tools to win this bout. He had his way in the bout with Bogdan Guskov. He was doing pretty good. And kind of the same deal as the previous fight, he just gassed out, ended up getting subbed. He was actually getting teed off on and wasn't getting finished, and then Bogdan Guskov just put his weight on top of his head and put him in like a ninja choke or something like that, and ended up putting him out that way. But he did have his way most of the round during that fight with Guskov. He's pretty quick when he attacks on the striking. He does have a nice straight. He has some nice teep kicks up the middle. So pretty diverse when looking at his game. I'm gonna have to go Billy Elikana by submission because of all that. I think he's good enough in the striking to keep Tafa guessing. And I think if he starts off the fight striking, slowly getting Tafa comfortable and letting his confidence gain, I think he can just go a wildly random yet aggressive takedown and sub the hell out of him, because that's what you do to the Tafas. That's what you do. Billy Elikana by submission. Let's get on to the next fight. We got Khan Ofli taking on Yiza. Khan Ofli, the plus 175 dog. He is 32 years old with a pro record of 12-4. I don't know why we have a 0 right here. He definitely has a UFC record. Other than that, he is an aggressive pressure. He will throw and look to change levels. He closes the distance pretty well. He has really good footwork. And he absolutely had a decent fight with Muhammad Naimov and then ended up just getting dog walked by him in the later rounds. On the other hand, we got the favorite, minus 210 favorite, Yiza, coming in at 29 years old with a pro record of 26-5. He definitely does have some fights in the UFC. He's just survived the Spartan kick from hell, straight to the grill from Gabriel Santos. It looked like he was out and he recovered very well. That kind of aged well for me right there, especially being Gabriel Santos. He is a good fighter. Other than that, he has a clean 1-2 down the hatch. Great offensive wrestling. Defensive wrestling doesn't seem the best, but he's more of the offensive side of the wrestling. He is slick when he changes levels, though. He can do it pretty fast, and he's willing to trade as well. He is a dog. I'm going to go Yiza by KO. He seems pretty equal when speaking grappling and submissions, but I believe Yiza has the more power in his hands, and he's just a slightly better striker. So for those reasons, we're going to go Yiza by KO. All right, let's get into the next one. We got Cam Roston taking on Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage, that plus 280 dog, 31 years old, 11-7 pro record. He is 5-6-1 in the UFC. He's actually oddly athletic. If you watch him throw like flying knees and kind of cover that distance with his 1-2, deceptively athletic. Cody Brundage is. He is a decent grappler, very low guard. He keeps his hands pretty low. He had a wild fight versus Marquez, ended up pulling that off. I want to see that Cody Brundage. That he looked really comfortable at the beginning of that fight. He did get pretty sure he got rocked and then survived it and ended up pulling off the win. He has a weird record in the last 5. He has 1 win, 2 losses, 1 draw, and 1 no contest. So it's very, very hard to, looking at the record to know how is this guy doing? Where's he at in the head after this weird last couple of fights? On the other hand, we got the minus 370 favorite of Cam Roston, 32 years old with a 13-3 pro record, 1-0 in the UFC. A while back, he lost to Torres Finney in his first Dana White's Contender Series appearance. That seemed to age well somewhat, even though he's a kind of a boring winner with Torres Finney, who's also on this card. But his second time in the Dana White's Contender Series, he ended up getting a clean knockout. His first fight in the UFC, KO'd Andre Petroski, and that was his last fight. He's a rangy striker. He's a good front kick, technical striker, decent grappling. And I think the younger, or I guess more up-and-coming fighter, he's slightly older, I think he's going to be able to pull this off. We're going to go Cam Roston by KO. Seeing Cody Brundage get dropped like that by that guy, and then obviously he came back and finished it, but I think Roston's finishing the job. I think if he gets him there, he's going to end up putting him out. He's not going to let him get back up. I think he's just the cleaner, more technical striker. I think he can get through that low guard, and he just has high confidence right now coming off a KO win versus Andre Petroski. So Cam Roston by KO. All right, let's get on to this next one. Now this is a tricky one, and we got Jacob Malkoun taking on Torres Finney. Jacob Malkoun, that minus 150 favorite. He is 30 years old, pro record of 8-3, his UFC record of 4-3. He's a clean single leg sweep. That is kind of his bread and butter. He gets to that single leg, gets you up against the cage, and then he'll look to trip, change of direction to kind of get you on the back. Other than that's his go-to. Not a ton of submission threats. He looks to just get you on the ground, pound on you a little bit, transition a little bit, and ride it out. That is kind of his game plan in the UFC, and I can see one of these guys get cut, possibly. But he had a very competitive fight, though, with Brandon Allen in that decision loss, which did look pretty good. It did look pretty good. He was able to get that takedown off, but Brandon Allen was able to stand up and get back to his feet and just get the better of all the exchanges and everything. On the other hand, we got Torres Finney coming at that plus 125 dog with a pro record of an 11-0, UFC record of 1-0. He is a Gary Coleman bodybuilder build. He is a tank. He is huge, even though he is only 5'8" in the middleweight division. He does have a good reach, though, for being that. He has crazy strength, relentless wrestling pressure, powerful slams. His UFC debut was very boring. He took on a Robert Valentin, just did what he does, takes him down, didn't finish the guy. I think he could have finished him. But unpopular pick here. I'm going to go with Torres Finney by brute force. I think there's just going to end up being a decision. When it comes to these grappling exchanges, I think Torres Finney's just going to be the stronger guy. Technicality-wise, I think Malkoun's better, but I think it's going to come down to just brute force here. I think he's going to have the more explosive takedowns. Torres Finney looks like he could bench a Toyota Camry. That's going to be a huge factor why I think he's winning this by decision. Torres Finney by decision, final pick. Let's move on. This is one I'm actually very excited for. We got Jonathan Milcalif taking on Oban Elliott. Jonathan Milcalif now is sitting at that minus 135 favorite. He's 26 years old with a pro record of 8-1, UFC record of 1-0. He has some digging kicks to the body. He usually likes to kind of keep those body kicks coming. He has some digging kicks to the body. He looks to implement those digging kicks and then look to go up north with them. Look for the head kick, and if they reach, they reach. They're pretty powerful. You can hear them from the nosebleeds. Um, looking pretty good. He has a clean straight left, some good grappling overall, good defense on the ground. He got a nice sub at Dana White's Contender Series, so he is a fighter I like a little bit. You know, I think he's slowly improving too in all the areas that when you watch tape, it's like he is getting better every fight. He's going to be taking on Oban Elliott, the plus 115 dog. He is 28 years old with a 12-3 pro record, 3-1 in the UFC. He is the Welsh gangster with a pretty good front kick, clean technical jab. His hands tend to stay low as well, but he does have great grappling defense. He has a heavy 1-2 and a good counter. Now, this one was a very difficult one for me, especially considering the fact that I like John Mikulev. I am a fan of him, and he's just improving, but I'm going to have to go with Oban Elliott. I think he just has the heavier hands. I think he's good enough to not have to worry about the grappling. He looks like he's able to defend takedowns very well, get back up from the feet. And if he can avoid getting set up with that high kick and keeping his hands loose and managing that distance, I think the victory is all his here. I'm going to go Oban Elliott by decision. Oban Elliott by decision. It's a tough one to pick, but that's what we're going to roll with. All right, now we're getting into the main card. I am very excited for this one. We got Quillan Salkilld taking on Jamie Chin Malarkey. Quillan Salkilld is the minus 1,000 favorite. He's 26 years old with a pro record of 10-1, UFC record of 3-0. He's an upcoming prospect, clean striking, elite grappling. He just kicked Nasrat Haqparast into next week in his previous bout. Clean high head kick that literally put him out. Probably did a little bit of damage there. We'll check up on the medical status of him later. He's a long, lengthy fighter though. Pretty much well-rounded. He everywhere he is pretty decent. Defense, offense, grappling, striking. He is one of my favorite fighters coming in to the UFC now. I really like him. He did make it on to the RHYTHMBETZ end of the year 2025 awards. He did have a knockout on there, and he's shown to have a lot of promise. He's taking on the plus 600 dog and Jamie Malarkey, and he is a dog. He is a dog. Don't get the chin mistaken. He's 31 years old with a pro record of 18-8 with a UFC record of 6-6. He has good movement overall. He has a good jab. He's a diverse striker. He looks to change things up. He has a decent arsenal. His best win, I'll say though, was a while ago versus Michael Johnson. Other than that, pretty much just getting took out by people who are pretty good. Beats the cans, loses to anyone who's really good, and he gets KO'd. He doesn't just lose, he gets knocked out. And I think Quillan Salkilld is really good. So Quillan Salkilld by KO. He's a slightly younger, fresher fighter. He has the momentum coming in, and that knocked out, Nasrat knocked out Malarkey. Do the MMA math there. I'm not saying that matters a whole lot, but calculated, biasly, I'm picking Quillan Salkilld. I want to let you know that, because don't blindly follow me into that pick, but I'm pretty confident that he will get the KO right there. Let's move on. We got the big boys coming in. Tai Tuivasa, the Shoey, Bam Bam King taking on Taliesin Teixeira. We got Tai Tuivasa at that plus 280 dog. He's 32 years old with a pro record of 14-8, UFC record of 8-8. He's a heavy boxer. He keeps good pressure, looks for that overhand quite a bit. He has decent low kicks as well, even though that's as high as he can go. I'd like to see him get a nice head kick. Bam Bam. But he does have grappling holes, like all of the big Australians. They all have big grappling holes. Taliesin Teixeira, the minus 370 favorite. He is 26 years old with a pro record of 8-1. He has a UFC record of 1 and 1. He was on a rampage with 8 finishes in a row before getting rocked by Derek Lewis. I know it's a controversial finish. At the end of the day, in my eyes, he grabbed the fence to get up, call the fight. If he needed that fence to get up, no matter what the status or his condition was at that moment, you got to call it. And what are you going to do? Just, let it stand up? You're going to have to put him back on the ground and let a big boy like Derek Lewis sit on you and wail on you. So I think it was a decent call. He is still young, though, especially for a heavyweight coming in at 26 years old. He's an elite striker, though. Very good kicks for a big man, and he can actually go high. I know he's 6'7", but he could go high with the kicks, which will be an issue for Tai Tuivasa here. And he does have 1 submission in his first pro fight, so maybe he can look to go back that route and not try to sit here and trade with Tai Tuivasa, because that is a 50-50 right there, sitting there and trading with him. Don't matter how good you are, you're liable to get knocked out there. So let's see if he looks it. But anyway, we're going to go Taliesin Teixeira by KO. He's the more athletic guy. Kicks will enforce that separation. This is a very low confidence pick just because Tai Tuivasa has lost his last 5, but it is to the best of the best in the division. So low confidence pick right there. But overall, this is a very good matchup. Taliesin Teixeira by KO. All right, we got Rafael Fiziev taking on Mauricio, the no longer fighting nerd Roofy. Rafael Fiziev is the -100 favorite, even. 32 years old with a pro record of 13-4, UFC record of 7-4. He is an elite striker, very explosive. He can wrestle, but nothing special in the wrestling, not really a huge threat. Looks to push the pressure with the clinch. He is coming off a good win versus Ignacio Bahamundes, where he did surprise me right there. He had 2 consecutive bouts with Justin Gaethje that were pretty competitive, but I would say the second time around was a little less competitive. But he's been in there with the human highlight reel. He's going to be taking on Mauricio Roofy as the -120 favorite. Pretty much almost at pick-em-ums. It'll probably reach that right before the bout starts. I can see that line movement happening. He has a pro record of 12-2, UFC record of 3-1. He is coming off that loss, fraud check loss, submission loss to BSD, Benoit Saint Denis, which stylistically just was going to tear him apart. Other than that, though, he is a very elite, elusive striker. Very fun to watch. He has some pretty entertaining knockouts. He had that spinning kick versus Bobby Green. He has that kind of Conor McGregor stance to him, with the hands out, bouncing back and forth. Has the same build essentially, but really, really good kickboxer. He is also, now that he has left the Fighting Nerds, he is training over there at City Kickboxing. There's some videos that have surfaced with him and Israel Adesanya, which, if you're looking to improve wrestling, I don't know if that's the guy you want to be training with, but, improve that striking, my guy, improve it. But very low confidence. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to stick with Mauricio Roofy. I think he's going to get the KO here. I think Fiziev isn't as good enough wrestler. That pressure will be there, but as long as Roofy understands he needs to be first, come out first in the striking department, Fiziev will be more hesitant and look to kind of get the clinch more, but I don't see him subbing Roofy. I don't see him being that allocated or advanced in the grappling department. So for those reasons, yeah, Mauricio Roofy by KO. He's improving his striking. Fizzy doesn't show the wrestling threat. It's a battle of the distance here. Mauricio Roofy by KO. Now we're getting into the fight before the main event. We got Dan, the Hangman Hooker, taking on Benoit Saint Denis. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. Dan Hooker at that +270 favorite, 35 years old with a pro record of 24-13, UFC record of 14-9. BMF style fighter, always brings the fight no matter what. Great striking, willing to take the fight anywhere. He's an overall dog. He is a dog. He can't help it. If he wasn't such a dog, that UFC record would be better. That pro record would be better. He had an impressive win and fight over Mataz Gamrot. He has decent grappling. Recently just got subbed by Arman Sarukin. So we'll see where he's at, see what type of fight he's willing to bring versus Benoit Saint Denis, who is the minus 350 favorite. He's 30 years old with a pro record of 16-3, UFC record of 8-3. Nickname his the God of War. He's an upcoming contender. Relentless pressure. Just fraud checked Roofy. Knocked out Beneil Dariush in his last outing. He has brutal power, as you can see. He has all finish wins inside the UFC, and his only loss, as of recent, are to Renato Moicano and Dustin Poirier, which were a couple years back. So I think he's improved a lot. I think he's really found himself. He's found his rhythm. For those reasons, we're going to go BSD by submission. I think he's going to look to repeat what Arman Sarukin did. I think Dan Hooker is good enough in the striking to avoid getting finished quick, or I think he'll be able to gain some decent respect, which will lead him to taking this fight to the ground. I think the relentless pressure will just open up the takedown. So pretty quick, pretty straightforward on that one. Benoit Saint Denis BSD by submission. Now we're getting into the final fight of the evening, the championship, the rematch. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. Alexander Volkanovski, he is the minus 150 favorite, 37 years old, pro record of 27-4, which is beautiful. UFC record of 14-3. Alexander the Great Volkanovski, one of the best featherweights of all time. Very technical in all areas. He is an elite striker, elite grappler. He is battle tested. He's been through it. In and out striker. He manages the distance very well. His technicality is above most. That is what won him the fight versus Diego Lopez last time. Lopez was just trying to call on the exchanges. Volkanovski was not biting. He was just keeping it clean. And I think he's going to look to do that again here in this same bout. I think he has the same game plan. I don't think he should change his game plan here. On the other hand, Diego Lopez, the plus 125 dog. 31 years old with a pro record of 27-7, UFC record of 6-2. He's best in the exchanges. He's best when it's a dogfight. When you choose to sit there and trade with him, that's when Diego Lopez pays off. That's when it shows. You will get dropped, and he won't. For that reason, he's one of my favorite fighters right now. He's a true dog. People forget that he is elite in the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world. I believe he's a black belt. He has good combos. He likes to finish with the high kick when he is marching forward. He had a good fight with Volk. Caught him at the very end. I think he knows he can hurt him. He knows he can hurt him. And we're gonna hope that he looks to employ that. And for those reasons, we're going Diego Lopez by KO. I think he learned from the last bout. I think his confidence riding high after that Gene Silva knockout and knowing that he can hurt Volkanovski. Volkanovski just had a whole year layoff, essentially. Diego Lopez has been a little bit more active, so he's probably been in the gym heavily. Not saying Volkanovski hasn't, but again, this is along with the Quill and Sal Killed pick. This is somewhat calculated and also somewhat biased here. I want him to win. I think he's going to learn from last time. I think the age of Volkanovski is getting up there. He got his belt back. I just don't see him holding on to it that long. Diego Lopez, the Brazilian Mexican, by KO. I will be putting probably a straight bet on that. But thank you guys, though, for tuning in. Thank you guys for watching. Gotta love it. Gotta love the rematch here. I know a lot of people are upset about it. Movsar Evloev, he's boring as hell. No one wants to watch that. Lauren Murphy got his first knockout of his career. He needs some more. Diego Lopez is the more exciting fighter. Again, go follow RHYTHMBETZ at Instagram, TikTok. Throw me an email, rhythmbetsllc@gmail.com if you're looking to talk any business inquiries, purchase any beats, lease any beats. Go follow the RHYTHMBETZ Discord. Also, you can get me at Juice Reels at RHYTHMBETZ as well. Thanks guys for tuning in again. Look forward to watching this fight and see you guys next week with the next breakdown.